Welcome, everybody, to Real Expert. Our topic today, kicking off the new year, 2023 Crystal Ball. And today's guest is none other than our esteemed colleague, Aimee Hanson. Aimee's email address is at the bottom of your screen there. It's Aimee at berealmn.com. Aimee, thank you for being here.
You are welcome, Toby. I'm happy I'm here.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm excited that you're here, and I'm excited. Hang on a second. I'm excited that we have another crystal ball. We did this last year, and
we've done it several years. Yeah,
we've done it several years. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. You should be able to hear us. You should be able to see us. We're here for the crystal ball. Look at that. We got people coming from Baja, Mexico.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. So today, guys, everybody knows this is Real Expert. It's going to be pretty fast and pretty furious. Obviously, Michelle, Aimee and I could be sitting and talking about this topic for hours, but we got 30 minutes. We're going to move fast and we're going to move furious. You're going to be able to participate and play along. And I'm going to go ahead and just introduce Aimee real quick. So those of you who don't know who Aimee is, I'm going to kind of give you kind of her official bio because I think it's pretty impressive. So bear with me. And here we go. Aimee is vice president and broker of Spara Inc. It's a residential real estate firm conducting business in the state of Minnesota. Aimee is the primary broker for Spara. She possesses high level of executive experience in residential real estate and has personally closed over $145 million in real estate transactions. So her expertise includes overseeing agent activity, implementing policies and procedures, and monitoring contracts, enforcing compliance and agency, fair housing laws, requirements. Special focus also includes contract negotiation, strategic marketing, organizational development. She is a graduate of the Real Estate Institute through the National Association of Realtors. And as important to me is Aimee is a very valued instructor at Kaplan. Aimee has been here for over a decade. She has taught to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of students on current, pertinent, hot topics in the continuing education world for Kaplan. And Aimee, I got to tell you, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for being
well, thank you, Toby. You know, I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody, here's another thing Aimee doesn't talk a lot about, but Aimee is also a professional witness. So is very familiar with legal system, very familiar with what happens when agents get in trouble. And so she brings all of this knowledge to us, along with obviously being a big part of a very active brokerage right now. So Aimee, let's get started. First off, if I could do this, I'm going to ask everybody who's on to participate with us. We've got hundreds of people here. And we want to know who's on so we can kind of tailor this conversation to where people are at, kind of in the history or their longevity of licensure within real estate. So here's what I do. I'm going to do a poll. Answer the poll. If you're on your cell phone, you may need to slide to another screen to answer this poll, but here we go. I'm going to pull up a poll question and I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. And the question is, how long have you been in the real estate business? Tell us how long you've been in. It's all anonymous. Nobody sees your answer. We will share the results afterwards. Nobody will see your name by it. Go ahead and play along, everybody. All right. You should be able to see the poll. The poll is, how long have you been in the business of real estate? Heck, I'm not even licensed yet. Answer to question number one. Less than 3 years, so 3 to 7 years, or more than 7 years. Couple little things here, Aimee. Now, we regularly have a lot of people who are sitting in licensing courses, and they haven't even licensed yet. So
they got to answer. They got to answer the poll on the poll there on your screen, Toby, because they're putting it in the chat window.
Oh yeah. All right. Make sure you put it on the poll, guys. There's a poll.
Click on the answer there on the poll question on your screen so we can register everything.
Absolutely. All right. So we got piles and piles of people who have answered. I'm going to close it down in a couple of seconds, but there's one thing interesting. I'm looking at this. People who've been licensed less than 3 years. Here's a little nugget for everybody. National Association of Realtors says 26%. So over a quarter, 26% of all active realtors have been licensed since the start of the pandemic. So basically 3 years right now. And so look at this. We're only seeing 14% of the people here right now. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. Everybody take a quick look. All right. Here we go. You should be able to see the results. How about that? 62% aren't even licensed yet. Good for you people. You're sitting in the classes, you're learning about the industry, and you're in the right spot because Aimee is an expert and she's going to share a lot with us today. Less than 3 years. Those are the people you got in this since the pandemic. That's amazing. So we got about 14%. 3 to 7 years, you got 7%. You guys are your big growth agents. You've had a nice run. Now you got to figure out how to change your business. We're going to give you some nuggets today about where do we think things are going so that you can kind of organize your business around where you think it's going. And then more than 7 years, you've probably seen it all. You could probably teach this. We're asking for you to participate. Put your thoughts in the chat if you've got some real wisdom to share with everybody, and you'll get a couple nuggets out of this too. If anything, you're going to get a couple, I would say, professional opinions out of this today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Aimee.
Yes, dear.
For you, right? So let's get into this. Question for you. What do you think, right? As we're going through this, what's been the biggest factor, the biggest change in our real estate industry back in 2022 that, and now today that you think is impacting real estate? And then we're going to talk about where we think that's going to go in the future. What do you think the number one impact is?
Well, I mean, I think without question, the sudden jump in interest rates was by far the biggest thing that we've had to deal with recently.
Yeah.
And going into 2023.
So we met last year and we did one of these crystal balls, and we hit just about everything except this. We guessed that interest rates were going to go up. I think we were thinking that they were going to be in the mid fours, is what we said, 4.5, 4.6. Somebody checked the tape, but I think we said like in the mid fours, and it blew right through it. I
know. I feel disappointed that our crystal ball, that part was not, because we're usually pretty spot on.
Yeah, and that part, I'm sorry, but I think everybody missed. And
I don't think anybody was expecting it.
No. And so interest rates have a ginormous drag on everything. They also are an opportunity, right? For people who understand interest rates, and they understand financing, and they understand refinancing, and they understand the mortgage products that are out there and available and that will be coming on the market in order to handle what is perceived as high interest rate. But Aimee, you've been in the business for what now? How many years?
30 almost, about.
30 almost. So let me ask you a question. Do you know what the average interest rate is over the last 40 years?
Oh, gal. Let's see. I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah.
5.5.
Yeah, no, that's low. It's actually like 7.7% is the average over the last 40 years.
Over the last 40 years. Oh, yeah, I guess, over the last 40, because we had that huge span of when they were at 18, 19%. Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, right. So
I was thinking about since I got in the business. Sorry.
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, but on average, we're actually pretty close to, in fact, just below maybe what the average is for interest rates. So, but number one thing is interest rates are going to continue to affect us. And so everybody on here is going, well, hang on a second. Let me ask you a question. What are interest rates going to do? Because what happens when interest rates go up is that people qualify for lower home values. And we all know what was happening to home values over the years, right? Over the last 3 years, right? 10%, 15%, 16% in some municipalities across the country, we were seeing appreciation, year over year appreciation of 16% for the last 3 years. That's big. That's ginormous, right? But what happens is when the interest rates go up, you can't afford that much home. So Aimee, put the crystal ball on.
Yeah.
What do you think happens to interest rates in 2023?
Well, I mean, again, if we could predict interest rates, I think we'd all be millionaires, right? So, but there's plenty of forecasts out there. And I think they're hovering right around, I didn't check them yet today, but right around 6.5% maybe. I mean, in November, they went up over 7, but so they've gone down a little bit. But if I had to guess, because we need stabilization and affordable housing, plays into this too, with being able to afford a payment for a lot of these people that need housing. And I would guess that, and what forecasts are saying, like in the mid 5s.
In the mid 5s.
And you know what, that's a great interest rate. I mean, Toby, when I got in the business, we were coming out of that 17, 18% or whatever. And I remember when interest rates went down to like 9, 8.5, and we were like doing happy dances in the office, telling people, look at, you gotta buy now because the interest rates are great, or whatever. So. Right.
Yeah. So look at this. Here's today's interest rates, right? We're sitting at a 30-year fixed at 6.46%, which is still under the 40-year average. But it's higher than it was. And there's still a lot of people who remember when it was low. I mean, just a year ago, it was half the rate.
Oh, yeah.
And so, well, and the problem is, and I think this is what everybody's interested in, is it does do a drag on people moving out of homes because they entered into super low interest rates. And now it's called the golden handcuff. You're handcuffed to these low interest rates, and you don't really want to sell your home and take on a new mortgage at a higher interest rate.
Well, and think
Because
about that,
sometimes-
what that will do to us, what effect that will have rather, for years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where people used to move like every 3-4 years, whatever, they might say, no, I'm not going to, because I have this, phenomenal rate for the, fixed for 30 years. But that doesn't stop the millennials from still needing housing, and, so there'll always, and the baby boomers that will need to downsize. So there'll be business, but there's a lot of people that think twice before moving.
So here's the thing. Having good information, guys, is a lot of what this prognosticating is. And there are people who do this kind of a thing for a living. And I'm just going to share a resource that I use and I have used for almost a dozen years. And it is the Mortgage Bankers Association. And I put it in the chat. Hang on, I thought I put it in the chat. Did it go? How come it didn't go?
You might have to do it to everyone. The blue. Make sure you're not doing a direct message, maybe.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me do this. Everyone, here we go, everybody. So, there we go. Mortgage Bankers Association. Awesome resource. Grab that name, right? Go Google it, go look at it. And for the last decade alone, so I think people know I'm the executive director of Kaplan Real Estate Education. What happens in the marketplace is keenly important. I work for a very big company, the Kaplan, that, it's publicly traded through the Graham Holdings. We have to do all these 3-year, 5-year, and I'll tell you what, my go-to is the Mortgage Bankers Association. Mortgage Bankers Association says interest rates should keep softening to somewhere around 5.2% by the end of the year.
Okay, good.
That's what they think. Now, we all know it kind of varies from area to area. And what I'm really interested in is, those people here listening, what do you think interest rates are going to do? Let's see who's right. Let's see if the Mortgage Bankers Association is right, or let's see if the people on this webinar are going to be right. We're going to save this and we'll post the results.
Go back to it next year.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the next poll question, everybody. You get to play along. Let's see here. Where do we think interest rates will be for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage by the end of the year? Right now, once again, I just showed that thing. It was about 6.5%. I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll
question up, guys. There you go. Answer on the poll question.
Everybody answer on the poll question. Giselle, please go to the poll question if you can answer. I'll post the results. Everybody kind of tell us where you think. We probably swayed it a little bit, saying the Mortgage Bankers Association, but those of you with strong opinions, love to see where you think it's going to be. Now, because there's one more thing that we should understand. And I know we're spending a lot of time on interest rates, but it really does kind of drive our marketplace. And there's one really kind of strong thing that is coming up. And over the years, over my 2 decades of doing education, and over my 3 decades of doing real estate, because I'm a licensed broker, and I've noticed that every year we head into an election year, we see a downward pressure on mortgage interest rates because there isn't an incumbent president who doesn't want low interest rates to make the economy kind of move along. Kind of a double-edged sword right now, because everybody wants the economy to slow down, but maybe by the end of the year, we'll have tough under wrap, and we're going to see those interest rates start to drive down as incumbent presidents, doesn't matter what party you're in, they all want low interest rates when it comes to 30-year fixed mortgages. So here it goes. I'm going to go ahead and share this poll. And here's the results. Everybody, take a look at this. So
okay.
11% of you think it's going to go 8.
Wow.
We're in for Armageddon. If it goes over 8.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not that it's 8% or higher. Good grief.
Hope you're wrong. Yeah, look at that. How about this? So 12% think it's going to stay up there in the 7s, right? And in the 6s, 30% say 6s, 40% in the 5s. We got some optimists, a couple in the 4%. I got one. Actually, more than one, but we got 1% of the people say less than 4. God bless you. I don't know if it's going to go there, but that would be awesome, because here's another thing that's happened. And this is what was going to affect our marketplace. There's a lot of people not buying homes right now. We're already on a housing shortage. The Home Builders Association says anywhere from 3.8 to 5.5 million units short. And there are people not buying right now because of interest rates. What happens when interest rates drops?
Well, we may have another rush to contend with. But again, I mean, there were so many people that bought, when they were super low, but there are people that either A, put buying on hold, Toby, or B, because the interest rates jumped so quickly, they got completely pushed out of the market. Right. So think about somebody that was maybe in like a 300 to 350 price range, and depending on where you are, right, in the country, but that's kind of like a little bit below average, right? The average sales price. When these interest rates, jumped up so very quickly, their buying power, let's say it went down to 250, and then like there's no houses in that range. So, I mean, they were forced out of the market. And also, you have to think about folks that, were competing and didn't get a house before the interest rates came up, and maybe they were used to looking at a $500,000 house, and now they're forced to go down to 450, and they're just disappointed.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a silver lining there. Let's talk about the next big elephant in the room, which is, we've had appreciation like crazy. We talked about it earlier. 7%, 10%, 16% or more in some, Phoenix and San Francisco and these areas at the year over year appreciation.
Yeah, Denver.
Now the dreaded word depreciation. Is there depreciation happening right now? And more importantly, what do we think is going to happen? If I was to say, put on your glasses, look into your crystal ball, Aimee, and if we were to say, listen, from this past December, we just got through the holidays, from the values of December in 2022 to home values in 2023, so basically a year from now, what do we think is going to happen to home values? Is it still going to appreciate at 16, 10, 7, 5? Or do you think we actually are going to see a loss in value? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, okay, so there's a couple things that I want to bring up here. I mean, historically, if you look at it, there's always been appreciation in housing. Okay, so that's the first thing. So I don't think that we're going to, and certainly nobody would hope that the prices go down. I mean, like I've had buyers go, well, I'm going to wait till the prices go down. And my reply to them is, you don't want that to happen. I mean, if you see prices crashing, we've all got a problem, okay? Because there's more challenges than just you wanting a good deal on a house at that point. But so I mean, I'm going to throw it out there so we can look at it next year. I think we'll see an increase, but it's certainly not going to be what we were used to. Okay, but I think I mean, 3% increase or 4% increase in the past was always good, solid appreciation. Oh, yeah. So I don't know if there's anything to complain about there, but here's an interesting kind of little tidbit when it comes to pricing, and for people that are not yet in the market or are in the business, and people that have been here a long time. Here's what I've been telling people in classes, Toby, you'll love this. When we do a CMA, a comparative market analysis on a home, typically what you're going to look at, to come up with kind of pricing, and what appraisers look at for the bank when they're doing an appraisal is they look at sold properties, okay, within the last 6 months, and agents should use the same criteria. And that means sold and closed. So I, of course, talk to a lot of appraisers, and some of them have told me that the banks are now requesting pending properties for the comps. So in other words, they don't want to go by
something that's sold 6 months ago. They don't want something 6 months ago. They want current
now. And so that tells me that they're nervous that the prices are going to go down, first of all. Okay. Otherwise, they wouldn't change the normal criteria of what it's been forever. And here's the second thing I've said. So here's what I would do. Okay. Because we were pricing these homes. Let's say you did a market analysis and it came in, $500,000, and you were doing this like last July or whatever it is. And you were using sold comps. And then you put it on the market, and next thing you know, the seller gets $550 for it. Okay. And I'm just throwing
general offer, $550, right?
Yeah. You got 9 people that want the house. And, so what I'm telling people now is on your CMA, and explain this to sellers. Listen, here's what that house was listed for. Here's what it sold for, because there were 9 or 10 people that wanted the house. We're not in the same position today. Right. So what I'm going to go by is the list price of that house on my CMA versus
you're looking at the list price as really probably the true value at the time, but the current market conditions for that time was a competitive bidding process that drove
That's
those.
Correct.
That competitive bidding process is now gone.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise you're just going to, and again, I mean, there's not an exact science to anything. The house is always worth what a buyer is willing to pay. but we have to give the seller a realistic view based on how the market is today, not based on how it was last May.
So Cassie,
right?
yes, right on. So Cassie asked the question, how do you use the pending sale? She's saying, just use the list price. Don't assume
Just the list price. That's what they're asking for, Cassie. Good question. The banks are asking for the list price on the CMA.
Got it. So
yep.
yeah, so there's not the competitive bidding process, but let me ask this. That's a really good point about currently how to describe it to a seller. Like, listen, here's where we're at. Here's what we can expect. Let me ask a question though. I'm going to ask the whole group. You get one more polling question, everybody. And it's, what do you think is going to happen to values? Like I said, here's the question from December of 2022 to December of 2023. What do you think is going to happen in your area? And just before I put the poll up, one last little caveat. So because somebody asked in the chat, they said, what about new construction? I'd like to cover new construction in a second, as I think there's different pressure on new construction. There is, let's just say this is existing homes. Okay, everybody. So on existing homes, what do you think is going to happen to value when it comes this coming December versus this December we just went through? All right, ready? Here we go. What do you think is going to happen to home values? I'm launching the poll. Go ahead. Jump on this poll, everybody, and look at what do you think's going to what do you think the appreciation rate on homes in your area will be on a year-over-year basis come December? What do you think? Do you think we're still appreciating? Do you think we're balancing? Do you think we're going negative? Where do you think we're at? Look at, they're rolling in. We got hundreds of people answering. Boom, boom, boom. Nice, nice, nice. All right, we're gonna go 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. All right, I'm gonna publish. Get ready. Got people still bombing in. Here we go. I'm ending the poll. I'm gonna share the results. Look at this. I got a couple of people. We got 2% saying, over 10% appreciation. 7 to 10%, 8% of the people. 25% of them say, 4 to I would take 4 to 7%.
That's kind of where I would be. Yep.
That's where you'd be.
Answer.
I'm thinking it's going to be 0 to 3.99, which is 33% of the people think the same thing. If all my indications are, it's going to be somewhere around 2%. That's what I would guess.
Okay.
My years of experience, because there will be some negative in some areas, but all in all, I think we're going to be at about a 2%. And then look at that, 23% go negative, up to negative 4%. And then even there's 7% doom and gloom. We're going to drop 4 to 10%. Some of your markets may do that. Aimee, do you think there's any particular market that maybe was hot during COVID that is going to feel this effect more than other markets?
Well, there was in one of my classes the other day, we get people from all over the country that come to the continuing ed. There was a gal from Denver that wrote in the chat that she's seeing the prices falling there.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking of
that was a hot market.
What about Zoom towns? I think we were talking
Zoom towns. Yeah. Zoom towns are where people moved, during the pandemic, that when they don't have to go to an office anymore. Yes. And so there were a lot of people that were choosing where they wanted to live. I think we did a crystal ball on that. There's Sarah says they are. I'm from Denver. They're following in California. So look at all these people. But those were Zoom towns. Those were big markets. And
so Zoom town is one of those, maybe a small a satellite town around a big municipality. It was normally sleepy little small town, but it had good internet connection. People are like, I'm moving for the lifestyle. I don't need to live close to work because now I'm a remote worker. And when they saw the values go up, you may see those values come down faster than other areas. Is that what you're thinking? Yep.
And also the Zoom towns being just the mountains, the water, the various places that people could go that was just falling in Florida. Someone says, see, and to me those are Zoom towns too, or Zoom states.
Zoom states. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people are moving to Florida still. The so each market's going to have their own intricacies and challenges, but all in all, I mean, relative, even from our poll, I don't think anybody saw a 20% loss in value or a 30% loss in value. This isn't like, back in 2006, 7, 8 during the mortgage crisis, where all of a sudden we saw all those gains lost.
It was disastrous. And
I think there's another thing here. Unemployment right now is at almost a historic low again. We're at the mid threes on unemployment rates, which means people have jobs, and there's a lot of people sitting in homes with a lot of equity. And the golden handcuff says they're not going to sell. They got a lot of equity. So There's a pent up
I
demand.
love Alvin's comment right there that says those were artificial gains. You know, that's a good way to look at them.
So
Because
here, let's do this. We got 5 minutes left.
oh yeah,
And here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what you think, Aimee, might be the biggest impact. What do you think out of all the things we talked about, or maybe something we haven't talked about? What do you think is going to have the biggest impact on real estate in 2023? Crystal ball. Here's going to be the biggest impact. What do you think it's going to be? Is it going to be continue to be? Is it going to be the lack of affordable housing? Is it going to
well,
be?
that's a problem. I mean, very quickly. I mean, I think interest rates. You know, again, we talked about and talking, but that's going to have the biggest impact. But when it comes to affordable housing, you know, and this is a concern because and again, affordable housing, Toby, is for the average person to be able to buy a house. So the person that's, you know, a barista that's making your $9 coffee in the morning needs to live close to work, or retail or restaurant workers or whatever it might be. You know, they're not going to travel 40 miles to go to work because that's where, you know, that's the only place they can afford to buy a house is 40 miles out. But so when these interest rates go up, it really does affect the affordability of housing too. And I think that's a major concern in our nation. And I'm not talking we're talking average people being able to purchase a home.
Yeah, this is not homeless people or unhomed people not having a place. This is like people who are diligently working, actively participating. They are a part of, you know, the big machine, the community, and just can't afford to live in that community that maybe they work in.
And we already have a lack of you know, these businesses have a lack of employees, you know, for you know, like I said, in restaurants and things like that, retail, you know, businesses can die because the people that work there don't have affordable housing. They can literally die because they can't find anyone to work for them.
Interesting. So I'll give you I think here's another thing that I see happening that I believe is going to have a significant impact on home values and the number of homes available on the market for regular buyers. And what I mean by regular buyers, people buying it as single family home to live in. And it has a bit to do with affordability. And so I'm just going to put it out to the people here. What's happening with short-term rentals in your marketplace?
Oh yeah.
Right. So there is a drive in investment real estate. Now, investment real estate has always been a part of our marketplace. It's always been a percentage of total overall buyers. And investment real estate, somebody buys a house and they rent it out to somebody on a year-long, you know, lease, and it go year to year to year to year. But short-term rentals, so Airbnb, VRBO, right, was a new kicker in the marketplace. People,
it was
second home option to say, why don't I just buy an investment Airbnb? I can use it for as many weeks as the year I want, and I can supplement the income. You know, Airbnb rates and vacancies are up. Rates are down, vacancies are up because 22% more stock in Airbnb VRBO, 22% more homes added to the list in the last year.
Well, and let's talk about the restrictions that some of these cities are putting.
This is where I'm going.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right on it. So tell us what's happening there. They're changing.
Well, I mean, so for example, you know, this is just a case in point. You know, I put a condo on the market here, and I'm from the Twin Cities area. If you didn't know that, you folks. So Minneapolis, St. Paul area. And, you know, you put a condo on the market, and within the first 2 days, you're getting phone calls from the agents going, our short-term rentals allowed. You know, and they're not normally in these associations, but there are cities now that are making restrictions on them altogether.
Oh,
you know, right? You have to have a hospitality license and charge hospitality taxes, and they're just making it harder for people to have them.
Yes. So here's the thing. So entire municipalities, cities are changing their ordinances, their zoning, and saying short-term rentals are not allowed. Minimum rentals might be 6 months or a year, which will completely dry up that short-term rental investment market, which a lot of people are cash buyers in that instance. A lot of people are taking their 401ks, they're converting the money out, they're buying the property, and they were using it as like a second home and an investment deal. And this has to do with affordability, because a lot of these destination cities, these vacation cities where people lived and raised their families and all that kind of stuff, there were people coming in from out of town and using it as investment for Airbnb, VRBO, and pricing locals right out of their own homes.
Again,
I
I
think
mean,
we're
that
gonna
plays
see-
into your affordable housing again. It's just like, it's a problem.
Absolutely. So I think that market is going to be under some pressure. Now, it
I
doesn't
do
mean
too.
it's still not a good thing, and there's plenty, but if you're going to specialize in short-term rentals, you better understand what's happening in that community and where that market is going and what kind of restrictions they're putting on it, because I think that has a significant impact. That could pull, 5 to 10% of all home sales out of the marketplace right now.
Right?
Think about it. That's a significant amount.
You better do your research if that's your plan and or that's your client's plan, better do your research before you sign that purchase agreement.
Everybody, I wanted to say thank you for being here. Like I said, we could probably go for hours, but in respect for your time, and Aimee, in respect for your time, I want to just say thank you for being here again.
Yeah, thanks everybody. It was good to see you.
Yeah.
We'll be back next year with the crystal ball. We'll see how we did, right, Toby?
We'll have to put up a scorecard and see just exactly how we did. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. If you happen to miss this for any reason, or you want to see it again, a link will be sent out to you in about a week. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.